If there's one thing both lovers and haters of No Man's Sky can agree on, it's that Hello Games know how to make a compelling trailer. For this video, I thought it'd be fun to take a closer look at some of the times these trailers revealed a little more than they were probably meant to. Now, before we begin, I would like to specify that I'm only going to be looking at post-release trailers. If you didn't know by now, the game's pre-release trailers often included features that wouldn't be patched in until years down the line. However, those features were cut prior to release for technical and budgetary reasons. That led to a huge backlash when the game released, and it didn't include all the things that flashed on screen for 1.5 seconds in an announcement trailer in 2013. But that topic deserves its own video, and maybe I'll do that down the line. Instead, today I'll be covering the trailers that Hello Games released for updates after launch. These are famously very well controlled because, Sean and Co. are very careful to avoid including anything that isn't 100% in the game or update that they're putting out. Otherwise, they might face that backlash that they got back in 2016. So they're very well controlled. That being said though, they do occasionally slip up and include something that hasn't been announced yet and eventually does find its way into the game. But that's enough preamble for now. Let's get straight into the video. 5 times No Man's Sky trailers showed features before they were announced. Rolls right off the tongue. Be sure to stick around to the end where I also point out a couple of possible features that have been shown but haven't been added yet. So going in chronological order, we have the No Man's Sky Next trailer, which debuted in summer 2018. Right off the bat, we have a sky filled with the most beautiful volumetric clouds I've ever seen. In case you missed it, this led to the saga of Cloud Guy, a multi-year odyssey that I'm glad it's behind us. But that's a story for another video. While the new clouds did look pretty great after this update, way better than the old ones, they wouldn't meet the fidelity shown in this trailer, in my personal opinion, until around 2020 with the Origins and Next Generation updates. But that doesn't exactly count, right? Because that feature was there, it just didn't, look as good as I thought it would. So let me instead direct your attention to a split-second scene inside of an Atlas station. You can clearly see multiple players present, despite Atlas stations only having a single landing pad. But only a couple months later, 3 more landing pads were added to both the Anomaly and the Atlas stations in patch 1.60. So, it was shown in the trailer, wasn't there with the next update, but it did eventually make it there before the next big update. So, kind of a little sneaky preview of what was coming. Our second trailer today is the often overlooked ByteBeat update trailer. It was released December 2019. Relatively short, the trailer showcases various player-built bases with the new ByteBeat players installed. It's a fun little trailer, but one scene stands out as a bit odd. Here we can see a dance floor populated by what you would likely assume to be players with, dance emotes. However, if you enhance the image using advanced military technology, or you stand really close to the screen, you'll notice our friend Nada hanging out. Zooming out a bit, a couple of Gek also resemble Polo. But since capes weren't added until 2022, this couldn't possibly be a player, right? Unless they were already testing player capes all the way back in 2019. More likely, though, is that they simply placed a few NPCs around with looping dance animations to fill the scene for the trailer. Looking at it that way, though, we did eventually get dancing NPCs in the Frontiers update in 2021, so maybe there is something to it. What are you hiding, Sean? Moving on though, we have the November 2020 trailer for the Next Generation update. When the player takes off in their starship, they're joined by a few friends. Or so we thought. If you pay attention to the flight paths of these friendly ships, you'll notice they stay in perfect formation with the player. While I have seen players, formation flying in No Man's Sky, the reaction time necessary to adjust your ship's movements to match another player, one who is behind you remember, simply seems impossible. It would make a lot more sense to simply have AI wingmen that follow your ship around. After all, we had already seen this tech running in the 2014 trailer. And now, 8 years later, we actually have this in the game, AI wingmen in the Outlaws update. If you notice though, the Next Generation trailer doesn't have 3 or 4 AI wingmen, but 7. This could be a hint that squadrons might expand in the future, Or it could simply be for use in the trailers. Speaking of which, you can see these AI pilots in the Companions update trailer, 8 of them in perfect formation in the Expeditions trailer, some in the DLSS support trailer, and more in the Prisms trailer. In hindsight, AI wingmen almost seem like a guarantee. Also, if you look at the Expeditions and DLSS trailers, you can see the main player run through the same area multiple times with similar events occurring. This gives us a peek into the tools they have for recording trailers, but I'll come back to that later. Turning back to the Expeditions trailer itself, we see an upcoming feature actually spoiled right at the beginning. So, the cave where the trailer begins features the new subterranean biome generation that was added later in the Prisms update. In hindsight, this is super duper obvious, but at the time, I think people were too distracted by the obviously new content to notice the slightly new cave biome. Sadly, even after Prisms, people rarely appreciate the beauty of these new caves. Now, you don't have to be one of those people. You see, you can watch my Spelunking in Space series after this video to soak in that subterranean bliss. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you. Lastly, we have the Frontiers trailer, released last summer in 2021. In this opening shot and throughout the trailer, we see AI Gek settlers dancing and going about their days. However, if you look around, you'll immediately notice that this is actually a Vy'keen settlement. So when Frontiers launched, Settler Race was locked exclusively to whatever the dominant system race was, so Vy'keen settlement couldn't have any Gek whatsoever. Thankfully, a week or two later, a patch added diversity to settlement populations. So while the majority of settlers still match the system's dominant race, a few of the other 2 races will also be present, giving towns more visual variety and finally living up to that trailer. I mean, I say finally, but it was like 2 weeks later. So that was a cool addition. So, that was the last of the features that were shown in trailers before they were announced, but now I'd like to look at some features that have been shown recently that still haven't made their way to the game, but I think might. First off, we have free roaming NPCs. While walking planetary NPCs do exist in the game, they currently stick to settlements and other buildings and aren't capable of mining, combat, or roaming the countryside. In multiple trailers, we can see the use of AIs meant to act as players. However, a couple of details give them away as NPCs. First seen in the 2020 Next Generation trailer, we have these travelers walking around with a weird holographic sheen to them. This effect is applied to traveler NPCs throughout the game, but never to player characters. The characters in this trailer display the NPC effect in contexts where you would never find NPCs. So these holographic travelers are seen again in the Companions trailer, Expeditions trailer, and so on. While this is compelling evidence on its own that, they have more advanced NPCs and AI than what's currently in the game, I think the best evidence for more advanced NPCs is shown in 2019's Beyond trailer. If you look at this passing character, whom we assume to be a player, they begin mining a rock off screen. However, when the rock is destroyed, we see those materials fly into our player's backpack rather than the other characters. This makes no sense unless that other character, quote unquote, belonged to the player. It could be a bug, but I'm not aware of a bug like that occurring at any point in the game's history. If taken at face value, it appears to be an NPC using a multi-tool to mine materials for the player. Will this ever be added as a feature? Maybe. With AI wingmen added recently, they may finally have the player-facing systems they need to make it a reality, such as the squadron screen and hiring process. This could function similar to Companions, where you summon them on a planet and they follow you around, they help you in combat, with mining and things like that. They sort of already have that AI developed. Or it could also be assigned to player bases, much like existing base NPCs. Only these would be able to walk around and perform tasks. This is all speculation, of course, but the tech seems to be there. Another possible upcoming feature that we saw in the latest Outlaws update trailer is an improvement to asteroid field rendering. The constant pop-in of asteroids in No Man's Sky has long annoyed many players, myself included. It's a glaring technical limitation that regularly breaks immersion for these players. The asteroids shown in the Outlaws trailer, though, are actually visible even before the player leaves the space station. That's seriously impressive. just as impressive as being able to see the shape of the asteroid field itself. For the first time, we can see the edges of the asteroid field, where it begins and where it ends. It's not just a vague, set of asteroids spawning right in front of us. It's a physical feature of the star system. So, if we were visiting this trailer star system with this new rendering tech, each time we left the station, we might expect to see the same asteroid field outside. And that's really cool. To lend even more weight to the suggestion that this is an intentional feature, we can again look back to pre-release gameplay from 2014. We know now that these trailers were aspirational, showing us Hello Games' vision for the game, not necessarily what they were going to be able to deliver at launch, but what they wanted to deliver eventually. And here again, we see those distantly rendered fields of asteroids. Now, we just received those AI wingmen from the other 2014 trailer, so I consider it entirely possible that not only has the tech advanced far enough to make these new asteroids possible on consoles and things like that, but also that it was Hello Games' original intent for the feature to function this way. Of course, this is all speculation, but as you well know, speculation's fun. On that note, some people have speculated that the Nintendo Switch port of the game won't feature multiplayer, since other players were conspicuously absent from the announcement trailer. However, others pointed out that player-controlled Minotaurs were roaming around in a couple of scenes. Proof of multiplayer. A week later, though, AI-controlled Minotaurs were added to the game, demonstrating that the Switch trailer may have actually been all single-player after all. Only time will tell who was right in the end, though. What do you think? I guess we'll find out soon. But that's the end of this video. Thanks for sticking around to the end. What did you think? Are NPC companions and improved asteroid belts coming in future updates? Or am I reading a little bit too closely into nothing? Is there something I missed, or maybe misconstrued? Let me know in the comments below. And yes, before you say it, I did see the part of the Sentinel trailer where the biome switches instantly and it's the same position on the same planet, and I saw that. I just think it's their biome debugging tool at work, with probably an AI pilot to ensure that it's the same trajectory each time. And I think it was just a fun trailer effect. I don't think it's anything that's going to be added, for gameplay. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Regardless, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this deep dive. Also, I just want to say, holy cow. So this Monday I reached 500 subscribers, and that's incredible. So I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who enjoyed my content enough to take a chance on me. And I'll do my best to keep delivering original content and to keep earning your support. So thanks again, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!